You can watch us on video too. We are on our Facebook and we are on our EAVA FM YouTube channel.
Yeah, be sure to join us, because this is a very interesting topic that EAVA FM is bringing to you guys out there.
Of course. Okay, so I'm going to bring Irfan live on video right now. Let's bring him into the mix. Hi, Irfan, can you hear us?
Hi, VJ. Hi, Attraction. How you doing?
How you doing? Nice to speak to you today.
Listen, it's an absolute honor and pleasure to be on the show today. So I'm really grateful to you both for giving us this opportunity to talk about something that's really important.
Okay. I just need some more volume from Irfan.
Some more volume. Okay.
Yeah, we're just getting ourselves sorted right now.
Well, I've turned it right up
Turned it all the way up.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Irfan, do you have some volume on your end?
Yes, I can hear you loud and clear.
Okay, that's cool. Long as we can hear you, and I'm hoping everyone can hear us. So yeah, Irfan, sorry to interrupt. Can you start off again? Can you please talk to us?
Yeah, thank you so much, gents, for allowing myself and the team at Loros to have this special week of programs to talk to the communities about something which affects everyone. But sadly, the experience for everyone is not the same. So what I'm talking about is end-of-life care. And as we approach end of life, it's really important to start having some of those discussions and conversations around what can be done to make that experience as positive and as comforting as possible, but maintaining that individual's belief, faith, culture, religion, whatever it might be. Because sadly, sometimes that experience isn't the best, and that's what tends to stay with the loved ones who are left behind.
Okay, yeah.
Absolutely.
So tell us, how is this study going to tell me what you're actually doing?
Okay, so this study has been going on for just over 3 years now, Attract. And what the main aim of this study is to get the actual lived experience from people within our community. So that can be the Black, the Asian, the very minority communities like Somali communities, Jehovah's Witness, Rastafarians, Chinese communities, Polish communities, all of those communities which have a presence here in Leicester, but we don't necessarily, when I say we, I mean the healthcare professionals don't understand enough about their culture, their beliefs, and how they live their lives when it comes to looking after their loved ones who are approaching the end of their life. So that's what the main, because what tends to happen, Attraction, is that sometimes, you as a devout Christian, for example, your grandmother or your grandparent might be very elderly, and that they're coming to the end of their life. But what you might want as a family might not be the same as what the clinician or the doctor or the nurse is telling you, because they're basing it on their clinical professional opinion. Whereas saying, no, actually, as a Christian, we believe that we must preserve life at all costs. And sometimes what tends to happen is that the emotion of the families sometimes can be a bit too much, or they're a bit reluctant because they don't want to do something that goes against their beliefs. At the same time, they don't want to upset the person they're looking after, the individual, their loved one, but also they don't want to go against what they're being told by professionals.
So why is this project so important?
For me,
why are you doing this, and what do you hope to achieve, Irfan?
So we know, so the healthcare community, so when I say the healthcare, we're talking doctors, nurses, people who look after you, whether it's in a hospital or any type of care setting like that. They've been telling the NHS for a long time, we are scared to have these conversations with our patients because we don't want to cause offense, but we need to understand what it's like for a Hindu family, what it's like for a Muslim family, what it's like for a Sikh family, because it's a very sensitive issue and they don't want to cause offense. So this project is about us going out into the communities, speaking to people like yourselves who can give us entry into those communities, and actually having conversations with families of loved ones who have just been diagnosed with a life-limiting condition, or families who have just experienced a loss, and then getting that experience. Guys, can you hear me okay?
Yes, of course we can. We can hear you perfectly.
Clear.
Yeah, very good.
Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
Absolutely,
It does.
So, this whole project, this whole research that you've been doing, how many people have been involved so far?
So for those people who know Loros is not just a hospice. It's a charity that's funded by the NHS and is also reliant on donations as well. One thing that Loros isn't, it's not a care home, so you don't have to pay to use their services. But they have a very trained specialist of researchers who undertake the research and conduct the interviews. So these are, highly skilled professional people who are doing the research, who are doing the interviews, but also then producing the findings from that research. Right.
So what kind of response from people have you been getting?
I tell you what, Attraction B, we have been really humbled by the generosity of people. So we've spoken to over 100 individuals, carers, families, and people involved with end-of-life care. During this time of COVID, it's been really difficult to speak to people for obvious reasons. But before that, we've had the opportunity to speak to many people who've been very, very poorly. We've been able to speak to communities that we don't normally speak to. For example, Somali communities, Bangladeshi communities, Jewish communities. And we especially want to do more with communities like the Somali and the Afro-Caribbean as well, because they generally are very reluctant to talk about healthcare.
Right.
Yes.
Right. What do you think that is?
I don't know. So, for example, I did a piece of research myself about 6 years ago, and I spoke to people from the Rastafarian community. And their belief is all about vital and letting nature be the medicine. So there's also a distrust of healthcare professionals, of pharmaceuticals, medicine and treatment. So, but also I think they're reluctant to talk about things like cancer, conditions which might result in a loss of life. So it's about actually saying to those communities, it's okay if you want to talk, because unless you've actually been through it yourself, you as an individual might be reluctant to speak about it because you're scared about how your community might judge you. For example, you might not want to, talk about putting your mum into a hospice because the community say, well, you're a bad son. You need to look after your parents. But depending on the condition they're living with, you as an individual do not have the skills to give the right sort of care to that person.
Right. I know that this is a very sensitive subject and stuff like that. So how are you guys, your organization, coping with this so well?
So, I mean, so for me and the team, the last 3 years have shown us how important this work is. If you think about what we've all been through as an entire human race in the last 16 months, and Boris has just announced that he's going to lift all the restrictions in a couple of weeks. But if you think about, God forbid something happened to a member of your family during COVID, and you were told that, your father, your mother, your grandmother, whoever it might be, isn't going to last very long, and you can't then see them. You would like to think that that person who's looking after your family member understands enough about you and your culture and your values to then make sure that they can give whatever it is, because effectively that nurse or that doctor then becomes an extended member of your family, because they're there holding the hand of that person as they're taking their last breath, and they're there making sure that they feel safe and not frightened, whilst you have to look on through a tablet screen or something. So it's really, really important. So this project is really, it's the beginning, it's the tip of the iceberg, Attraction B. We still need to have a lot more dialogue, a lot more engagement with these communities, start making sure that that they know that there are services out there that can help them. And that's the whole thing. We want to, organizations like Loros are all about helping people to give dignity back when you're having that end-of-life care. So you, as a family member, can then worry about just spending time with your loved one, rather than having to worry about getting the right care in for them or having to change or clean them. Yeah, go on, Vijay.
How important is trust in this whole process?
It is absolutely fundamental to the whole thing, because I'm sure people like Attraction B, if he goes into the Afro-Caribbean community, he will be seen as someone who can be trusted. So if someone like Attraction B says, hey guys, we should think about speaking to Loros, it makes our job so much easier. So it's almost like we need permission to go into those communities. And it's people like yourselves who can help us get that permission. Because if people see Loros with Attraction B, they'll think, okay, you know what? it's been validated to a certain extent. If Attraction B is saying it's good, then I feel safe, then I feel comfortable. But
I see your point.
there are many communities who are just reluctant to, and we've seen that with COVID, you know, all the conspiracy theories about vaccines and care and this, that. So it's really, and what we want to make clear is that no one has been forced into having these conversations. It's all done on a voluntary trust basis. So at any point, if those family members or those individuals feel uncomfortable, it's stopped, and that's it. So trust is massive, guys.
I totally understand, Irfan, because when somebody is going through this whole experience of somebody in their family or loved ones, end of care, it's one of them topics that we know in our South Asian community how it is, and especially Attraction. We've had conversations how we've been breaking down barriers.
Yeah, it's true. You know? Because let me just say this, because I've had two friends that I've grew up with, and they've sadly just passed away recently. One of them was actually in Loros, and I did an interview with her 4 months ago.
Okay.
Wow. I'm so sorry.
And I will be doing a tribute to her later on as well.
Okay. So, and Attraction, this is exactly what we're talking about. And I'm really happy that Loros, you guys have come on today to talk about this. Have we found any gaps or improvements that might help improve end-of-life care within our communities, Irfan?
Absolutely. So end-of-life care is not something where you can say, right, you know what, we've got everything in place, everything we need, because every person is different. Every community is different, every family, every individual. Now, just because you come from a Muslim background, for example, you might not necessarily be a very practicing Muslim. So the important thing is it's about enabling the healthcare professionals and the patients to start having a conversation. So much work needs to be done at Attraction B, and I hope that going forward from here, you can help us get into the community a bit more, and we can start, because Loros, I know they want to do so many more events in the Afro-Caribbean community, so many more events in the Somali community. So it's you know, we are still a long way from where we need to be, but this is a fantastic start.
It's been a real pleasure that you've decided to talk to us, Infram. And you know what? It's so nice. So what are you hoping to share with the listeners out there? You know, obviously you're getting your information out there, but is there any way that people can get more involved in what you're doing?
Absolutely. So what I've learned from this process and from my own personal experience, guys, is that I think there's a big role for our community leaders to play and be a bit more proactive. Because if you are, for example, a devout Jehovah's Witness, you know, there's issues around giving of blood and donating blood. Those are, you know, very, very sensitive issues. And sometimes the faith leaders or the community leaders can actually help those families make a decision without feeling guilty, and giving them a bit more reassurance that, you know what, even though our religion says this, in the case of your grandmother, your father, your mother, whoever it might be, because of their condition, it's okay. So you don't have to feel guilty for trying to keep them resuscitated or whatever it might be. But also those faith leaders can give a lot of input and a lot of information around understanding cultural values. So what is appropriate, what isn't. So if I give you an example, my mother and my grandmother passed away within a year of each other. My mum was in Loros and my grandmother was in Leicester Royal Infirmary. The experience of both of them was so different, Attraction B. It was very stressful having to deal with the hospital for me and my family. But with Loros, it seemed so easy. Everything seemed so straightforward. They took care of everything, or they offered to take care of everything. Whereas sometimes in a hospital, nobody really wants to engage with you. And, you know, in Islam, in Muslims, we have to bury our dead as soon as we can. So it's really important that we get the body released very quickly. And that can be, and when you just lost someone, that's the last thing you want to deal with.
Right. I know that you guys are heavily working with doctors and all these surgeons and different people. So how do you play your part in this big project that you're doing?
So the research team that we have is made up of doctors and clinicians themselves. So they understand what it's like. So they have been tasked by the NHS. So the NHS, so this is a national study, guys. It's important to remember it. although
Okay.
Laura's doing it here,
Mm.
these findings will be distributed nationally. So that's incredible that an organization in Leicester is at the forefront of this pioneering piece of work. So what's going to happen is that findings will be given to NHS staff. It will also be included into training material for new doctors. So when they are trained, not just medically trained, but this will form a part of their training, so they understand things around cultural values, cultural awareness, and that's really, really important because the more they go on their journey, it's important for them to not forget that they are dealing with people at the end of the day.
Right. Yeah.
And I'm not saying that because they don't care, but sometimes they can get caught up in the day to day, and it's easy to forget that you're in a people industry, and so that's really key.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I just want to say, Irfan, you know what? When you talk about we talk about faiths and we talk about different cultures and communities. For us in Leicester, there's so many different communities that are here already. What about when you said this is a national project? What about where communities are there's not so many communities there? When you're saying training new doctors and giving this to new people and showing these findings to there, how will it be implemented? Will it be something? Have you guys have an idea of how it will be implemented?
So a lot of that work is still going on and discussions are taking place. So a lot of it will be in resources that will be made available. So online resources, educational material, and actually included in induction material, induction courses. So for example, if you have in a very ethnically diverse area like Leicester, if you have a doctor that's coming into, say, for example, Leicester Royal Infirmary, part of their induction program will include things like the makeup of the population in Leicester, to give them an understanding that actually, dealing with Somali community is more prevalent here in Leicester than, say, it is in, I don't know, in Cornwall or Gloucestershire or somewhere like that. And that's just as an example. So a lot of it will be down to the local organizations themselves, but they will have a repository of material that they can access.
No, I think that's amazing. I think everyone really needs to take part in any surveys or questions or anything like that as well, because we know that working within the community, we've seen the barriers faced by a lot of people from different heritages and communities and cultures, really. Coming from a Hindu background, I know Attraction, you come from a
Caribbean background.
Yeah, Caribbean background, and we've seen this time and time again, right? Where sometimes as public services or services out there don't understand where we're coming from, no matter what we say or what we do. Irfan, you come from a Muslim background, so you must see as well when we go to certain areas, maybe or try to tap into different services. It's difficult because they don't understand where we're coming from.
Yeah, it's true. Also, as well, I'm kind of interested as well of, up and down the UK, you've got shops, funding and stuff. And, how big a part has that played in what you're doing?
So funding in terms of keeping Loros going, is that?
Yes.
Yeah. So Loros is a charity, so it relies entirely upon donations and funding from the NHS. Now, COVID has had a massive impact on every single charity in every single sector. So, what I would urge people to do is try and find out as much as you can about Loros, visit their shops. They sell some great stuff in their shops. People like some furniture and stuff. But it has been hard. So if you need to use a Loros services, you as an individual, as a patient, won't be charged. So your GP can refer you to their services if you need those services. And that's what happened with my mum. They have amazing specialists, expertise within their ranks, and it's not just a place where people go to die. Some of the services there are incredible, and they offer a lot of support, not just to patients, but to their families, their carers. And it's, you'll be surprised at how much you learn. And as I was 8 years ago, because up until then, I never had to use a hospice. But when my mum had to use hospice services, I was blown away. And honestly, it's changed my life ever since. And that's why I'm still involved 8.5 years later.
Right.
Absolutely.
There is a thing that I've always imagined, what kind of things do you do when people are in their last stages? Give us a bit of idea of what you can do for people?
So usually there's something called having a good death, Attraction B, and there's a called dying matters, and there are several stages about having. So when you're dying, you want to feel safe more than anything else. It's obviously a very frightening experience. You want to give comfort. You want to have those people who are familiar to you around you. You want your things that mean a lot to you around you. But also as family members, you don't want the distraction of having to look after that individual as they approach the end of their life. You want to spend as much time as you can with them. And that's what hospices do. They allow you to spend time with them as they approach the end of their life. And and that can be a very powerful thing, because if the last moment you spent with your parents or your loved one as they died was holding their hand, telling them that you love them, that's going to stay with you forever. And you know that you did everything you can or everything you could to make their last moments as comfortable and as special as possible.
Yeah.
You know what, Irfan, just want to tell everyone right now, we're going to go on a short break at 6:30. We're going to come back as well, and I want to talk to you about the whole study and carry on and everything right now. But we're going to go on just to let the listeners know at exactly 6:30 we will be going into our commercials. So yeah, please stay tuned in. This is really important. Really important. It's very important because we've seen over the whole pandemic, Irfan, right? How has end of life care? I know you're actually there, so you see a lot more than a lot of the general public see. So I just want you to reiterate, just for the next 30 or 40 seconds, how important end of life care is.
It's really important because it's the last care you will ever receive, and you want it to be a good, positive, uplifting experience, which might sound strange, but it's about the things in place that allow you to do that. And we can only do that if people and healthcare work together in collaboration, so they understand what needs to be done to make it as special as possible.
Absolutely. Okay, so after the commercial, some of the questions we're going to be asking you: what difference has a study already made? What are you hoping for Thinking Ahead project going forward? And also we'll be talking about the project itself. What do you want the listeners to do? So listeners, stay locked on all the way on our YouTube, on our 102.5 and our Facebook channel. It's been great messages coming in. So we're going to come back straight after these commercials. I'm just clock watching right now. See you soon.
EAVA, sharing the richness of cultures. This is EAVA FM.
Grill Shack, Leicester's finest jerk chicken specialist, giving you that carnival taste all year round. Jerk chicken, rice and peas, coleslaw and fried dumplings. Yummy. Come and check us out in the heart of the city, 167 Belgrave Gate, Leicester, LE1 3HS. Try our boneless jerk range in a wrap, gourmet burger, pita or strips. What we do in our jerk range, we also do in Peri Peri. Online delivery via Just Eat, Deliveroo, I'll Get It and Zoom. For collection and orders, call us on 0116 262 2885. That's 0116 262 2885. Grill Shack, the authentic taste that brings a smile to your face every time.
Serving the community 24 hours a day. EAVA FM.
हर 4 वयस्कों में से एक मानसिक रूप से अस्वस्थ होता है। हम लेस्टरशायर और रटलैंड में वयस्कों के लिए मानसिक स्वास्थ्य सेवाओं में निवेश और सुधार करना चाहते हैं, ताकि लोगों की व्यक्तिगत जरूरतों का समर्थन करने के लिए स्वास्थ्य सेवाओं के साथ मिलकर काम करना आसान हो सके। चाहे आप अभी या भविष्य में इन सेवाओं का उपयोग करें। परामर्श में अपने विचार साझा करके हमें बताएं कि आपके और आपके परिवार के लिए सबसे महत्वपूर्ण क्या है। www.greatmentalhealthllr.nhs.uk पर जाकर एक सर्वेक्षण पूरा करें या 01162950 पर कॉल करें और हम सब मिलकर बदलाव कर सकते हैं। आज ही ग्रेट मेंटल हेल्थ की ओर कदम बढ़ाएं।
EAVA FM.
1 in 4 adults are unwell with their mental health each year. We want to invest in and improve mental health services for adults in Leicester, Leicestershire and Rutland to make care easy to access, with health services working together to support people's individual needs. Whether you use services now or may in the future, tell us what matters most to you and your family by sharing your views in a consultation. Complete a survey at www.greatmentalhealthllr.nhs.uk or call 0116 295 0750. And together we can make the change. Step up to great mental health today.
This is EAVA FM.
Everyone can now get free rapid COVID-19 tests twice a week. They show your results within 30 minutes. They also show you're doing what you can to protect your loved ones, your friends, your workmates, and that you want to keep life moving again. Around 1 in 3 people who have COVID-19 have no symptoms and are spreading it without knowing. That could be a friend, a relative, a workmate. It could even be you. Rapid tests are easy to get from nhs.uk/get tested. Let's take this next step safely.
EAVA FM is a multilingual radio station serving the diverse communities of Leicester on 102.5 FM. For advertising and sponsorship, email sales@eavafm.com or call 07811 659 364. That's 07811 659 364. Serving the community, 102.5 EAVA FM.
Greeting you back on the opposite side of those, and we're still talking to Imran today, and Ifran today, should I say? Get your name right, Ifran. Yeah, and we're still talking about this very sensitive subject. Right, Veej?
Yeah. I think, as we mentioned before the commercials, a lot of communities are quite optimistic. It's just finding the words is really difficult, kind of using end-of-life care because of their beliefs and faiths. And we've spoken a lot about this. Just want to tell all the listeners, this video will be on YouTube and our Facebook channel, and we'll be sharing it out there. So it's just not live, it's going to carry on. So far, Irfan, what difference has a study made that you've seen it implement since it's been implemented?
So, Vijay, it's hard to actually quantify what difference is made because it's such a wide-ranging subject to topic. But what it has done, it's allowed us to start having those conversations. It's
absolutely
the main difference it's made is it's given those who need to know a better understanding, and it's allowed us to actually understand what that whole end-of-life care experience has been like for those families, those individuals. So it's been absolutely brilliant that we couldn't have had a better response. But in terms of actually seeing a difference, over the next few years, that's when we will start to see how much of a difference it makes. Because it's like a ripple effect. When you throw a pebble into a pond and you see the circles go out, it starts to touch everything that it sort of ripples out to. This is what this project is. We've dropped the pebble in the pond, the ripples are starting to happen, and now it's going to get wider, and we're hoping to touch every single community with these ripples.
Right.
And I think Attraction, to start that conversation, it's important, as Irfan said, right?
Yeah.
Because we love these conversation starters, Attraction. How many times have we been on air and we've told people we need to have this conversation?
Yeah, it's very, very important for our community, for people to know about things like this. You know what I mean? And it's so important because remember, the UK is built up with lots of different communities, you know what I mean, and stuff. So it's really nice that you're getting this kind of work out there,
Absolutely.
So Irfan, what are your hopes for Thinking Ahead project going forward? What's happening going forward? What is the plan going forward with this whole?
So the plan is to put in a network of what we're going to call community liaison workers. So we're going to have people out there going to speak to communities and get in touch with them. And we're going to have a whole host of hopefully roadshow events now that the lockdown restrictions are going to be lifted, to invite people to come and learn more about this study, more about the results, so we can disseminate. We really want to hear from a lot of these community members. So Attraction B, any sort of Afro-Caribbean groups or communities or projects that are going on out there that we can tap into, or that might be listening and are interested, please get in touch either with Veej at EAVA FM or directly through Loros. There's a great opportunity. So the hope is we're going to have a whole bunch of events, roadshow events. We're going to tap into things like interfaith networks and interfaith events, but also, coming on radio stations like EAVA FM is absolutely brilliant for us because we are reaching people that normally we wouldn't get a chance to speak to.
Yeah. So how much people are involved in this organization that you're doing?
This project.
So this project is basically, there is a team of what we call applicants who are responsible for actually delivering the project. So I'm a co-applicant, and we've got Professor Christina Fall, Dr. Zobia Islam, Dr. Anne Patterson, and Matilda Hanjari. So they're the core team who are delivering, but we've also got some associates and networks that we're tapping into. So we've got people from all over the country who sit on the project management boards, on the steering committees, but more importantly, we have a team of members of the public, so people who are patients or families of patients or who have been recently bereaved, and they're the most important people because they are giving us all of that lived experience. They are giving us an opportunity and an honor to come into their life and listen to their experience. And without them, this project would not be where it needs to be. So those are the really key people. And if there is somebody out there who would like to get involved, please contact the Thinking Ahead team. You can go onto the LOROS website and get in touch. But there's a lot of people behind the scenes, Attraction, that are doing a lot of work. And so, there's project management committees, executive committees, but also public and patient committees as well that are part of this project.
Also, Irfan, I just want to talk about, you mentioned the projects and community outreach work. I know, as this is a conversation starter live on air, we've had a lot of messages from the community already. Before we've even actually started going on live. I know, Attraction, you've been talking to a lot of communities in the African Caribbean community, and we want to host some events for this whole topic of end of life and getting this conversation started. Especially with, like you said, it's a conversation starter. Where can we take it? And what we really want the listeners to do out there is really think about how we can make better end of life care for harder to reach communities. I'm not going to say hard to reach, just harder to reach. Because there's communities out there that feel sometimes they don't want to speak up because of certain barriers that there is with
stigma. There's a lot of stigma.
Yeah.
No, but also, Irfan, I want to say they find it difficult to talk to services because they don't know how to approach services. If that makes sense, do you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So you may have somebody from the Hindu community that I'm from. They find it hard to talk to doctors about, or they say we can't say this because this is what we do. They're never going to understand this. But hang on, this is where we need to talk. This is when we need to talk.
Yeah, but you have to realize, Vijay, as well, there is a level of nervousness.
Yes,
that's the word that we need to use. Nervousness, because obviously you've got somebody who's end of life, and you go there, you don't know what to do yourself.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So it's a level of nervousness, if you can get what I'm saying.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think the important thing is, you're absolutely right, Attraction B. Nervousness, they're uncomfortable. It's not an easy topic to talk about, or it's not an easy reality to come to terms with when you find out someone might not be with you in 12 months' time or whatever. I think the earlier we can have these conversations, the better it is, because it's not something you can just go bam and start talking about it and it's good. But what we need to do is we need to empower and enable those individuals and those communities to say, you know what, it's okay. You don't have to be scared. You're not alone. There's a lot of people that can help you. And this is what I meant when I said that a lot of community leaders and faith leaders can actually play a part in helping those families come to terms with having those conversations, because it's difficult on both sides. It's difficult for the patients and it's difficult for the professionals. But what we need to do is, like you say, we need to have events which say, you know what, I feel comfortable about doing this. And it is not about, it's not about passing judgment on anybody. This is about making sure that those individuals can get the best possible care that they can receive, no matter what. Because ultimately, this is what it's about, giving people the best patient care.
You mentioned community leaders. One person I want to mention, I think, Attraction, you mentioned Pamela Campbell Morris.
Morris. Yeah.
She's sadly she's passed away. I know Attraction, you're going to do a tribute for her
later on, in the program.
And she was one person that started conversations within our community about health and end of life
and stuff like that as well.
Yeah.
And also she was of course. She's a good friend of the African community.
Yeah.
Now she's done work with prostate cancer. Having suffering with cancer herself, you know, for a very long time. So obviously, you know, putting people in that situation, you know, it's nice that you guys are acknowledging that and trying to make people out there know what you guys are all about. You know, and I must congratulate you guys for putting in this work.
Thank you. Well, first of all, I had the pleasure and the privilege to meet and work with Pamela. She was involved in the early part of the project, and she gave us a lot of insight and a lot of great connections, you know, and her passing is going to be a massive loss because, like you say, her work with the Afro-Caribbean male community around prostate cancer awareness was incredible.
It was incredible.
And you know, we were very, very lucky. But I think there's an opportunity to take what Pamela has done and really build upon it, and you know, and create a legacy, not just for her, but for her family and everyone involved in this work. Because you know, the sad thing is there are so many conditions and illnesses now that can affect a whole host of communities, and communities like ours are more susceptible to certain conditions like diabetes or whatever it might be, prostate cancer. So you know, we have a heightened risk of developing terminal conditions. So for us, it's in our benefit to really understand, A, what services are out there, how do we access them, but how do we enable our communities to access them without fear of being judged, without fear of shame, but also make it into a positive experience. Because this might sound really strange, guys, and I always say this, but when my mom was in Loros, it was like she didn't go there to die, she went there to live, you know? And that for me is what I took away from that, is that the last 8 days that she was there, she was able to live and we were able to live with her. And that really made a difference. You know, it changed my life. I'm not going to lie. It changed my life. It really did. And I'm sure anyone who's listening, who's been a recipient of hospice or Loros services will say the same. You know, what they do is beyond incredible. And we are so lucky in this country on today, the 73rd birthday of the NHS, we have such a wonderful health system.
Wow.
Okay. Do you have any final words for us, Irfan? I know we're going to be carrying on shows as well. Tomorrow we have a Polish show that is we're going to be talking about this. Wednesday we do the community show, lunchtime that is, and then Thursday morning we're going to the South Asian community. Then Saturday we're going to be speaking to the East African communities in Leicester. So any final words you would like to say and tell our listeners out there?
This is not an easy subject. It's a great opportunity, and I would like to tell all of our community leaders who are listening, and all of embrace this. Don't be shy. It's completely safe. It's completely appropriate, and I would urge people to get in touch with us if they would like to get involved, or if they're at the point where they're having to think about end of life care provision for a family member. So please, either through Attraction or through VJ or EAVA FM or the Loros website, you know, think about it and let us know what you think. We would love to hear from you, and please invite us to your communities. That's what we want out of this. We want to have engagement. We want to have really strong relationships with all these communities, so we don't have to rely on the likes of Attraction B, as amazing as you are, Attraction. But it's great not to have to depend on people who can enable us to get into those conversations. So invite us. We want to be a part of it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, man. You know,
thank you guys, man. Thank you guys. It's been a real honor to be on the show.
Okay. Thanks a lot, Irfan. Okay, so we are Attraction.
Well,
what
you know what? You know what? For those people that we're going to be putting out these videos, and some of those people who have been listening as well, you know, that was very interesting, because you know what? This is a subject that we people out there don't know about.
How many times have we spoken Attraction when we're out talking with friends and
we
that,
talk all the time,
and we talk about end of life, and people are like, they don't want to talk about it.
I know.
Yeah.
But it's a thing that you can't run away from.
Yeah.
It's going to come to you sometime in your life.
And when it does happen, you're like, what do I do now? I'm not saying we're telling people to be prepared or start thinking about this or have something in your mind, but we need to talk about this.
Yeah, we have to.
We have to.
We have to, because it's one of those things. We all have families.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
And we know that day will come.
Yeah. And it's with all age groups.
All age groups.
All age groups.
Because you know that a lot of young people are dying by the minute now, by the bucket loads. You know?
Yeah.
So, you know, we have to have it in our back of our minds and don't dismiss it.
Don't dismiss end of life care. And I think it's important. We're very lucky to have Loros in Leicestershire, and the services they've done and everything they've done, because the amount of stories as a community radio, me and you know, the listeners message us all the time, say, we really want to shout out to Loros. We want to give a massive shout out what they've done for our family. And to understand our community needs, having trust with services. How hard do we find that? How many times has someone come up to you and said, I don't like talking to doctors?
Oh, nurses. I
don't like talking to the doctors. But you know, I don't like hospitals.
You know what, VJ? What really amazed me with Loros as well? Yeah. How they are a charity based.
Yes.
You know, and they have these shops for their funding and stuff like that. Also, as well, they get money from, you know, stuff, you know, charities and stuff like that. So that's it. This is what's so good about it. Yeah, it's amazing. So you know what? Yeah, I know Attraction. It's been a conversation starter, and I know you're going to be talking about Pamela in your show. Yeah, definitely. Definitely. So yeah, it's been fantastic again. I'm going to go off the live stream. So let's just tell our listeners this will be up. Carry on listening to us. So we are going to end. Remember, keep tuned in on 102.5 EAVA FM, because Attraction B is going to be taking over. You want to say goodbye to the list on the live stream? Yeah, but before we do that as well, don't forget you can check me out at 7 o'clock on the dot. It's the home of brand new music. I will be doing a live interview with the Splurge Boys, and also as well, I will be doing special tributes to Pamela Campbell and also Sandra Henry as well. Okay.